up, y'all? Welcome back. I know we missed y'all for a week there, you know, to episode 42 of the Cheap Pop podcast. I am K Double. That man to my, what would be your left, is Alpha, and we're here to kind of talk some good wrestling for you. This whole episode is going to be wrestling. We're going to make it up by talking a little.
Yes, sir.
Marvel and WandaVision next week after that season finale. You know, WandaVision was good this week, but it's gonna be better next week, and we're gonna be right on top of it, y'all. Don't worry about it. So
Yes,
let's get into this, man. So a couple weeks ago, we saw the NXT Takeover.
Okay.
Yeah, the NXT Takeover Vengeance Day pay-per-view. Me and you had recorded an episode, but unfortunately we had some technical difficulties, so we could not complete the episode. But quick results: Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez win the inaugural Women's Dusty Cup. do thought that was better deserved by Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart, but whatever. Johnny G retained the NXT title, or NXT North American title, against Kushida. MSK beat Grizzled Young Veterans for the Dusty Rhodes
Cup.
Tag Champ. Dusty Cup. And then Io Shirai survived Mercedes Martinez and Toni Storm to retain her NXT Women's Championship. Glad to see they're giving her a run, kind of like Asuka. And then Finn Balor defeated the one and only Pete Dunne to close the thing to retain his NXT championship, but that was not necessarily the story of that night. Now, was it, sir? But we're gonna jump back first to that Johnny Gargano and Kushida match, because man, that match was another one of those. It makes me wonder how people can say that everything about WWE is trash, because I just don't see it that way. You know, like things like this, things like these matches with Kushida and Johnny Gargano show that there are skilled people in WWE, and whether people want to say or not that WWE doesn't know how to use them, I think these matches show that they know how to use themselves within the ring. You may not like some of the gimmicks, you may not like some of the talking that goes on with WWE and how they set up their storylines, but you have to give credit where credit is due to these boys in the ring. And Johnny Gargano versus Kushida was one of those matches that proved exactly that.
I agree. Start from the beginning real quick. Yes, you'll notice I do have a new mic, and we're coming from a new angle here. Technical difficulties lended to us getting a bunch of new tech to run this from. But to get into the match, it in and of itself was an amazing, very physical, very high-paced match. You know, this is normal for someone like Johnny Gargano now, Mr. Takeover. We're used to seeing these high-paced, high-octane matches out of this man, especially in this environment. But now we honestly, at this point, we now have his whole stable behind him, especially Austin Theory, right?
Right.
And coming into this now, we have Kushida coming off of a dry run for probably about 6-7 months now, right? You know, I'm not going to say that he's been doing poorly, but he hasn't been given the best material.
Right.
It was a really good match. It really was. And I say this as someone who is a big fan of Johnny Gargano. I really do believe Kushida should have gone over this time.
I think it's that time, especially with him being a multi-time NXT champion already, you know, or NXT North American champion already. If this was his first run with it, I could see it. But like, I think this would have been the time for him to drop the NXT North American title and move the way up to a main event status and start pursuing that NXT title and give us that Johnny Gargano versus Finn Balor match that we all know we want. No matter whether we want to admit it or not, we all know we want. So, you know,
Johnny could have taken the loss. Kushida really needed it, is my mentality about this. You know, I think really Kushida really needed to look strong right now, and he's a very good performer, and he really deserved it, I think. And it's not that Johnny does it, but I think he could have taken this. You know, Johnny has taken so many fat dubs walking in and out of takeovers over the last 2 years. I think he could have taken this one, even if it was through non-fucking, like, clean manner, right?
Yeah.
But all in all, it was a good match, though. It was a really good match.
The final of the Dusty Rhodes Classic, as it is every year. Let's not act like there's bad years and there's good years. I don't think I've seen a year in which the final to the Dusty Rhodes Classic wasn't a classic match, wasn't a good match. Like, and this was another one. And to me, it was because of MSK. MSK really made this shine as far as I'm concerned. Not to say Grizzled Young Veterans aren't damn good wrestlers and them boys aren't hardcore. It's just saying that MSK is that damn good. And as far as I'm concerned, they stole the show with that match and almost took match of the night. Almost.
I agree. Fucking, it's not news that the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, the Dusty Cup, as me and my family like to scream and call it just for memes, it always produces amazing fucking matches. It always does. And the finals specifically always produce something really good, whether it be the formation of Undisputed Era or Undisputed Era winning it for twice in a row. Or in this case, we get to see the debut of MSK.
There's always something interesting.
There is. There's always something very, very new and interesting presented in the Dusty Cup every year. And I openly look forward to it. And in my personal opinion, the best part is the oddball tag teams. And Thatcher and Ciampa were fucking golden the whole way through. And I love MSK and I love GYV. But fuck, do I love Ciampa and Thatcher just a little bit more.
And as we spoke about in our unaired technical difficulty episode, that was the team I hoped would win. Like, I would love to see them go on to a tag team championship title run. Thatcher and Ciampa, let's roll, dude. I'm there. Let's sign me up. But alas,
not even
that was not the
case. For the physicality, but I loved the promo style, Like, I don't know about you, but it was fucking hysterical. The moments when they would finish a promo and Ciampa would fucking launch a chair across the room. And you'd hear that shit explode against the wall. And Thatcher is just sitting there, unfucking blinking. There's something about it that's just way too fucking good, dude.
Amazing. I think we will end up seeing, hopefully on the main roster, we'll see those guys together down the road. We'll see what happens.
I hope so. But all in all, it was a really good match, though. The finals. They did a lot of interesting gags, and in terms of storytelling, and telling a really good story, I really liked it. I really dug what they did.
Now, the finale was an amazing match with a finish that almost, and I'm showing you exactly by how much. You see that space between my fingers? That's how much it edged out MSK and Grizzled Young Veterans for match of the night, and it's primarily because of the close. You saw an amazing wrestling clinic worth of a match in between the four ropes between Pete Dunne and Finn Balor, two guys that know how to do it like nobody else in the business. Really, it reminded me of Chris Benoit versus Dean Malenko, WCW. Just a lot of groundwork, there was some high flying, but a lot of groundwork, a lot of technical stuff, and just storytelling, great storytelling. But the finish blew my mind because it started something that I never thought we'd see. After what they've had like I want to say a 4-year run of pretty much dominating NXT, I believe for almost an entire year. That group held just about every title in NXT. And
wait, no man, go for it.
When Adam Cole cocked back and kicked Finn Balor, that didn't surprise me. That I actually saw coming.
Kind of expected that one, right?
Right.
Didn't expect the second shot though.
It was the second one that got me, that made me go,
yeah.
I don't know what to do with the information. I honestly don't. Like, does this mean we're gonna see Adam Cole leaving NXT soon for the main roster? Like, because I figured once they split up, we were gonna see at least a couple of them end up in main roster. So I don't know. But the match itself, I give it an A++. The finish just added an extra plus.
Yeah, man. It's hard to really say anything about this match that hasn't been said before in terms of what happened between the ropes. I'm a huge fan of what the Prince and what Pete Dunne did. You know, they grounded and pounded, they mat wrestled. There was some amazing striking, some incredible submission work there. So many things were done in those ropes that was very, very out of the box. It was awesome. I love seeing Pete Dunne work. He's got such a vicious and like tight, sandbaggy style, and that meshed in with Finn Balor's roots in good British strong style. It was really cool to see that callback. You know, I love Finn Balor's early work, and there was a lot of shades in that in this match, and I really fucking enjoyed that. The finish that has been done many times over. There's like one consistent thing in NXT, and that it's the reverse effect. You know how, like I told you, when Bobby Roode loses his fucking sweat, no, not Bobby Roode, what the fuck? When Bobby Lashley loses his sweatband, he gets ultra powered. You know, like that's his ultra instinct. You know, when he loses every match. If you watch any match with Bobby Lashley, anytime he loses the headband, he wins the match. That's why this whole Hurt Business run, no headband.
No headband, yeah.
but Pete Dunne is the opposite effect. He always has the mouthpiece on. You remove the mouthpiece, you found his weakness.
Oh, okay.
The UK teeth, which is why he immediately loses via Finn Balor booting him straight in the fucking mouth.
Oh.
Coup de grace, 1, 2, 3. You know, it's a really cool. I love that gag a lot. But to really get into the juice of what everyone was talking about this from, as you mentioned, at the very end, you see, I believe the boys, Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch, came out to start some shit. The rest of the Undisputed Era come and flush out alongside Kyle O'Reilly to help out Finn Balor. They all stand in the ring. They all do the UE pose, and Finn Balor does his thing before promptly being fucking mutilated in the mouth. Fucking all boot, straight to the jaw, on the mat. And then everybody's obviously looking at him like, Adam, what the fuck? Before he promptly gives the same fate to Kyle. And although we're laughing at it, I really liked the acting on part of everyone here. You see Adam Cole sell it like, you fucking deserved it. You made me do this, as he storms off to the back of the ring. You see Bobby Kyle. You mean Roderick.
Roderick Strong, sorry.
Yeah.
And Roderick Strong really helped sell it too. Like with his like
what the fuck just happened? Like,
yeah, like do I go with Adam, or like do I help Kyle? Like,
exactly. There are no words conveyed at all here. But you can 100% tell here that Adam Cole rocked their shit because he felt like he had to. And Roderick completely understands that he's caught in between. All of that being conveyed without any words, all through actions, no promos and expressions. Yep. I really fucking liked this moment. And you know, everyone's been waiting for months now. You know, we actually talked about it like what, 3-4 months ago, you know, the breakup of UE and how that was gonna go. And obviously this is how it's looking. Sort of, you know, I can't see them breaking up Red Dragon, but at the end of the day, Kyle does have a lot more shine as a single star. But it's clear here that Adam is really cutting out a path for him as this I'm the best in the world type of heel. And it's fucking awesome.
Hell yeah. I can't wait. I can't wait to like I said, the episode since I've only seen like highlights from, like I saw him attack whatchamacallit again. I did not see the promo that he cut this week explaining why he turned on everybody. So you might want to elaborate on that.
I was gonna say, if I can enlighten some of that, I can. Since that moment, the following week he attacked Kyle again. I believe he did the patella drop brain buster fuckery that he's known for. It's like Kyle O'Reilly on the steel steps. At which point Kyle was able to sell so fucking well that people genuinely thought he was injured because Kyle was that fucking good, remember?
Yeah.
And then the following week he solidified this with an even more heart-wrenching, honestly, it was harder for me to watch than even the Finn Balor moment when he attacks Roderick Strong. And that really cemented him as like, you know, this isn't me against Kyle. This is me against all of you for allowing this shit.
Yeah.
And
Fair
it's
enough.
really carving out this mean streak for Adam. That is less
Nice.
of I'm a preppy fuckboy leaning on my 3 buddies, and now I'm this malevolent asshole that's out for everyone. I don't trust any of you anymore. It's really interesting, and I really like the evolution of Adam Cole's character going forward, even if it's really heartbreaking to watch it all go down like this. But as a result, it is carving out everyone else in the Undisputed Era as really, really compelling faces. It's really easy to believe in them now, you know?
Yep. Legit faces. And it's good storytelling. Like, and whether you saw it coming or not, this was still one of the better heel turns that we've seen in a while. And
It is,
and
man.
and I like it.
We had a
Now,
heel that just turned heel, and it worked amazingly.
I didn't even think about it like that, but yeah, you're right. He just had a heel that just turned heel. Kind of like, you know, to me, it was kind of like the Shield, because Shield was always tweeners, you know, but they were more heel than not. And then when Seth turned on Dean and Roman, it was like, okay,
I'm a
so the
heel. I'm turning double heel.
Yeah, I gotcha. But yeah, just good storytelling. I'm assuming that it's going to lead to some great matches as Adam Cole, as UE tries to get retribution. What's left of UE tries to get retribution on Adam Cole, and Adam Cole continues to pursue. I think you're going to see a double storyline going on. I think you're going to see, and once again, this is where it shows Adam Cole's skill. Is that Adam Cole's capable of doing this? You're going to see this kind of double storyline where Adam Cole's going to actually be chasing Finn Balor, but at the same time, he's going to be fighting UE. And he's going to kind of have these two feuds going at the same time. And I think it's going to make for great TV.
Yeah, I think, I forget at one point, but I was watching a match and it was just like, here's Ciampa, and everyone else in the ring was a bunch of people that he's feuded with before. It was like this, I've beefed with all you motherfuckers type of thing. You know, I dig that type of dynamic, and seeing Adam go into the same role would be interesting. And I really like this thing going forward, that Adam really can just work well with others. You know, especially knowing, like, you know, ask anyone in the Bullet Club, how's Adam Cole? He's dead. Who's Adam Cole? is their response, because he was booted in the mouth and kicked out of the Bullet Club. Yeah. Which is a really funny way of thinking about it, where how do you kick people out of the Undisputed Era? By kicking them in the mouth.
By kicking them in the mouth, no shit.
It's really
or how do you leave?
It all comes full circle, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, so
we'll going forward, before we do break into main roster, I do believe I said it on our unaired episode, but I don't know if I said it on our last one, but I do want to reiterate it one more time. Going forward, whatever happens with the NXT title, no matter how this next few months goes, this is going to end with Finn Balor versus Karrion Kross, and Finn Balor bringing back the Demon to take on Karrion Kross in a losing effort.
I could see that. I could see that. It helps put Crossover as a major monster and gets him back to where he was when he should have won the belt off of Keith Lee. And yeah, I could see that. I can roll with that.
I'm calling it now.
All right, so let's go on ahead. Screen share again here, and let's take
talk about the main roster.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. It's the second to last pay-per-view that WWE does before WrestleMania. We got Fastlane coming up in a few weeks. That's going to fill in the rest of that gap.
The final pit stop that nobody cares about.
So just to give a quick rundown of the matches, you had John Morrison defeat Elias Mustafa Ali and Ricochet in a fatal four-way match to get entered into the United States title match later on that night because Keith Lee got injured.
Quote unquote.
Quote unquote. You had Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan defeats Cesaro, Jey Uso, Kevin Owens, King Corbin, and Sami Zayn to get to a title match with Roman Reigns, of which he almost won and then lost. And then so that United States title match ended up being Bobby Lashley, John Morrison, and Riddle, and it was a really good match. We can get to that later, but Riddle ended up taking home the win and the U.S. title. So Riddle is your new United States champion. You had Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks, the SmackDown Women's Champion, taking on Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler for the Women's Tag Team Championships, and they ended up losing. I think it was thanks to Reginald, right?
Yeah, Reginald.
And then you had Drew McIntyre defeat AJ Styles with who had pretty much almost the moment of the night.
Ripping the fucking plexiglass off and shit.
Yeah, no shit. Jeff Hardy, Kofi Kingston, Randy Orton, and Sheamus to retain his WWE Championship. And then you know what? I'm gonna let you talk about the next result because I don't even want to talk about it.
You know what?
I don't even want to mention it.
Let's get to that one after the very end, actually.
All right.
Let's save that.
Let's
save that little special one.
All right. So
let's start from the top of the card. I'll go. I'll start first since you started last time. You know, just to give very brief thoughts on the first one and get into the second. I actually really enjoyed the triple threat match between Morrison, Mustafa, and Ricochet.
Fatal four-way.
The consensus between my family and I was that was a pre-show match because it was pretty fucking good. It was good enough to be on the main card at that point. Yeah. I do like the story told with the three men. I do always love seeing John Morrison versus Ricochet a lot because I'm sitting here like, oh, it's Prince Puma versus Johnny Mundo all over again,
versus Johnny Mundo. Oh yeah, I forgot they were both in
Lucha Underground. In Lucha Underground, the premier feud for like a year and a half was Prince Puma versus Johnny Mundo, and that's what I think about when I see them. So that's always pretty cool. You know, it was a good match. But going forward right into the first Elimination Chamber match, we had this was SmackDown. Yeah, the SmackDown. Yes. Of all of these talented men, predominantly actually from Ring of Honor. I really liked the story told here. I really liked Daniel Bryan being this valiant hero. I love Cesaro looking like a fucking badass the whole time. I love him chasing fucking Zayn around and fucking getting to the top of the cage and just fucking doing the lifts and shit to look like a fucking machine. I adored Jey Uso. Looked like a fucking cold-blooded killer in this match.
Yeah, he did.
Jey Uso looked like a fucking killer. I'm sorry the parts where he was kicking off Owens' face. I didn't want to see Owens lose, but Uso looked like a god hand, and it was awesome. Oops, shit. There we go. I really liked. I liked Corbin's inclusion in it. I wish he would have gotten more time, but I understand that of all of them, it makes more sense to him to have been the first one eliminated.
Yeah.
And I adored the part where Zayn stops and looks at Owens and he's like, we're never going to be the poster boys like them.
Yeah.
We need to band together. You know, like, they could have easily just did the contrived bullshit that all the chicken shit heels do. It's like, oh, let's just team up. But no, I liked we're never going to be the poster boys line.
And they made sure it was loud and clear enough for you to hear it.
Yeah, before Owens promptly just starts fucking throwing him wall to wall to wall. But before I get to what happened after the match, I want to hear your thoughts about the match itself.
I was highly entertained with it. And I'll be honest with you. Both me and my fiance were watching it, and we both thought Kevin Owens was going to be getting another shot. Like, he's been the guy that's faced from.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Here we go. And then when he got eliminated, that's when things really started to pick up because we were like, wait a minute, it's not going to be KO.
It's not Owens.
And then at that point, I'm like, it's Cesaro. It's got to be Cesaro.
And then he gets eliminated right after.
Yeah, exactly. And it was just like, wait a minute, everybody, they're chopping down my list one by one. But basically, after Cesaro lost, I pretty much figured it was going to be D. Bryan. No offense to Jey Uso because he put on a hell of a match. Like you said, main event Jey Uso showed up. He put on a hell of a match, but I just felt once it was down to him and Bryan, it was like, okay, Bryan's the more deserving. Like, because I just get this feeling based off of how his characters have gone recently that Daniel Bryan is slow walking his way to the retirement page.
Yeah,
he's slowly but surely getting done with wrestling. You combine that with that and some of the stuff I've been seeing.
Yeah.
Well, my girl watches Total Bellas, so just the stuff I've been hearing from and watching with him, and he got 2 kids at home now. So I just see this kind of as a final run, and I think that working I also think that working a program with Roman Reigns was something that Roman Reigns wanted. So I think that it made sense for Daniel Bryan. But up till that, I will say they had me wow, because Daniel Bryan was not #1 on my list. But the match itself was so intense from every single angle, and like you said, I agree with the fact of King Corbin going out first, because like as far as I was concerned, out of all of them, him and Sami Zayn were the least, in my mind, the least likely to win.
Exactly.
Like it really would have surprised me.
That is exactly how it went, really, though, if we're being honest. That is exactly how it went. And rightfully so. Rightfully so. Not just because of, you know, writing or this or that. It makes the most sense.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, I do, you know, there's all those rumblings online that backstage Vince McMahon only really listens to a handful of people. One of those people is Daniel Bryan. All these rumblings about Daniel Bryan stepping closer and closer into a producer and a writing role. If I'm not mistaken, he had a hand in writing how the Royal Rumble went this year as well. Nice. And I think that's really good, because, you know, I think Daniel Bryan is going to be one of those people that goes on to prove that, you know, you can contribute a lot in the ring, but there's a lot left to contribute, you know, mentally and what you can give to people coming up, and I really like that.
Well, let me say this: as he moves more, I'm going to say a side tangent real quick before I will jump us right back to the pay-per-view. I'm so sick and tired of people saying Vince has to control everything. I think it's being shown with the Roman Reigns head of the table storyline. Wreck everyone and leave, baby. And also, like you said, with Daniel Bryan's involvement with SmackDown and the writing and so on and so forth, that if you earn Vince's trust, Vince will allow you to have say over your character, over your character's direction, over the writing for your character, etc. Yes, of course, the man is running $1 billion company. So yes, everything at the end of the day is going to have to be run by him.
Yep.
And approved by him.
It's going to go through him at the end of this.
But that doesn't mean that he doesn't hear what wrestlers are saying. That doesn't mean that if you've shown Vince that you're a draw and that you can make money and that you can do big things, that he won't listen to you and hear you out. So I just wanted to say that, because I hear so much from people, not just AEW fans, but from WWE fans as well. Oh, Vince needs to loosen the reins. And no, dude, like, okay, we can't do the Attitude Era thing anymore. Like, we can't do the Attitude Era thing where the wrestlers have full and total creative control. Yes, there has to be a happy medium where the wrestler has some say in his gimmick and what it does. But I think we're just not in a time where wrestlers should, and even in AEW, I can tell you right now, Tony Khan checks. Those guys are not allowed to run and do whatever they want. Tony Khan is still the final say. And if Tony Khan says we're not going to run a segment, we're not going to run a segment. You know what I'm saying? So there's always somebody that you're going to have to check things through. People, like I said, and I'll say this one last thing before we get back to the pay-per-view, and I'll say it 50 billion times over. People aren't mad that WWE has supposedly gotten bad. People are mad that Vince McMahon knows now he doesn't have to give a shit about what all the fans think in order to be able to make money. He can tell the stories he wants to tell. He can tell them in the ways that he wants to tell them, and he doesn't have to give a damn, because he knows he's going to make money hand over fist regardless. Yeah. So, and trust me, at some point, Tony Khan will begin to believe the same thing, because at some point, AEW will become a money machine, and if it ever does, trust me, Tony Khan will go down the same path.
It's all about promotions, all about sponsors. That's where all the money is. It's not in attendance. And newsflash, look at how much money they've made in the last year. It's not about live attendance either, man.
Yep.
Promotions, online, merchandise.
Yep. The buy one shirt, get one for $1 deal is a hell of a deal.
Yes, sir.
$40 and you got 4 WWE t-shirts. I'm down for that. All right, but so let's
get back to that match. So yeah.
All right, so immediately I didn't believe. Okay, so since the SmackDown match was the very first match of the night, I didn't believe that they were going to have the Universal Championship match till later that night. I was like,
I thought they were going to give the dude a minute to warm up.
Yeah, to like, I was like, okay, they're gonna go first. They're putting it first so that way the dude can have some time to rest before he faces Roman. But nah, as soon as the cage came up, Donna, dun dun donna. I was just like, oh, we're doing this now. Okay, all
Good
right.
night.
Good
Night,
luck,
D-Bry.
Daniel. You know, and like I said,
Good luck, Daniel.
you know, for a tenth of an nth of a millisecond when he got Roman in the yes
LaBelle lock.
Yeah, I thought for sure that maybe it was gonna happen. Maybe he was gonna upseat Roman, and unfortunately, nah, it didn't quite work out.
And real quick, I hate this idea that I've seen this idea online that Roman powered out of it because the LaBelle lock is not on his level. No. Roman didn't break the LaBelle lock because he's just strong.
Yeah.
No. The idea coming into that was that Roman was able to break the LaBelle lock because he was more fresh.
Right.
Because he was more ready, and Daniel Bryan had just been fighting for a fucking hour, right?
You know what I would tell those people? Go ahead.
No, yeah, Bryan has just spent an hour's worth of energy. Roman hasn't spent shit. Obviously, the LaBelle lock is gonna be fucking wet paper tissue at that point. A lot of context.
I want those people that say that to go out and fight 6 people and then come try to fight me right afterwards.
Exactly.
I'm 6'4", almost 300 pounds. Like, go fight 6 dudes, come out of that alive, and then come step to me.
And then if you lose, you're weak sauce, bro.
You know, exactly.
That's that mentality.
Like, you know, pretty much it's like, dude just got done beating the shit out of 6 other people in a cage for like 30 minutes, and you expect him to do anything more than what he did. That man's arm was jello.
Yeah,
like, nah, he had that thing locked in, but it wasn't locked in good and tight. Like, he wasn't wrenching on Roman's neck.
Yeah.
And you could tell, like, he was just, okay, look, man, look, just sell this for me because fuck. You know, but at the end of the day, yeah, them people, they don't know what the fuck they talking about. They probably ain't never stepped foot in a wrestling ring in their life.
Exactly.
Because I don't care whether or not it's kayfabe or not. You wrestle 6 people for 30 minutes and then got to turn around and wrestle somebody else for another 2 minutes. And that 2 minutes probably feels a lot longer than that 30 minutes did.
Especially you know, when said dude you're fighting is a fucking 6.5 foot tall Samoan man, fucking ripped like Hercules. Like you might have a hard time. But
I love.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, storytelling wise, I love the fact of how it puts Roman over as this monster. Like, I'll do anything to keep this championship type heel.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I have seen a few other ways of thinking about it like that, and I'll get into it. But like on the inverse, I really like the selling on Bryan's part here. Bryan is always good at being that underdog babyface. When Roman's theme hits and you see Bryan not even holding himself up on his arms anymore, by his elbows, on his hands and knees, like tilt his head upward, and you can see it in his eyes, like, oh fuck.
Talk to the audience. I'll be right back.
Go for it. There's this amount of selling in Bryan's part that I really, really like. And there's always that physicality as well, because if you look at any fucking Daniel Bryan match, especially his Rumble matches, you see that Bryan's chest is constantly beat like fucking ground beef by the end of the match. I always love that by the end of matches like these, Bryan's selling is always top fucking notch. Shades of his match with Brock Lesnar at Survivor Series a while back, you know, when Brock very clearly had the upper hand and was fucking throwing his ass around and folding him like a lawn chair with suplexes. There's still that fight in Bryan, and there's still that inverse moment in the same way here. When Bryan locks in the LaBelle lock here, and then in Survivor Series, when in that snatch moment, he catches Brock Lesnar with it there. You know, it's an amazing story told by Bryan in the way that he sells, in the way that he sells attacks, and I really loved that. Yeah. During the Chamber, in the small moments before Roman fully walks into the match, and he's walking in at his entrance, and after he gets decimated by Roman.
Yeah,
it is a pretty interesting way to go about it, but I do like Daniel Bryan selling on his part. I really like it.
So let's do this real quick. I know I just got back, but let's go on ahead and take that quick commercial break or podcast promo break. And then we'll be back and we'll talk the rest of Elimination Chamber. We'll talk a little AEW, New Japan, and Impact crossover. And we'll talk a little Wrestling Observer awards.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
You're listening to the Cheap Pop Podcast right here on Spreaker.com, 4Aces Presents Radio, Google, YouTube, wherever you find podcasts, you could probably find us. Peace.
Yes, sir.
All right. Yep. All right. And then share screen. Boom. Share. All right. What's up? What's up, y'all? All right, so let's jump into this United States Championship match. We don't have to talk about it too long, but it was a good match. Like, it was hell of a good match. I just wonder this. This is what I was left wondering coming out of this match. Was Keith Lee supposed to win the United States Championship?
And that's what I'm thinking. And there's a lot of debate here over if Keith Lee is even injured.
Yeah.
And I've heard rumblings that Keith Lee was just pulled from the match purely because they got cold feet over it. They didn't want Lee in that match, and I'm hearing a lot of conflicting things. So don't quote me on anything. But don't quote me on anything. But I have heard these rumblings that Lee isn't even injured, and he was pulled because they got cold feet over it.
Wow.
Which makes me question why they would still make the title change hands.
Right. Right.
And I don't mean like because Matt can hold the title, and it's clear they have faith in Matt, which is good because Matt can hold that title. And if we're talking just the match in essence, I thought it was really cool. I liked what Morrison and Riddle did in opposition to Lashley, and I like the fact that Lashley has never looked this fucking strong. Lashley has never looked this powerful. Lashley looked like if this was a one-on-one match, he would have ripped either of those dudes in half like fucking Bane. And I liked that story with this. I liked the story that Morrison and Riddle had to team up and really just find an opportunity. And at the end, it was Riddle who found that opportunity.
Yep.
And I really liked that Lashley didn't take the pin here, if I'm being honest, because Lashley needs to look good over the next 4 months.
Right.
And I'll get into it later. I liked his part later in the show. But as of right now, I do like the fact that I think this was Lashley's. This has finally come to an end, and I do like the fact that that Matt's getting trusted with a mid-card title, and I think it's time for that. I'm a big fan of that move. I really like the match.
And so, like I said, I'm a real big fan of the finish. Like I said, I can't help but think it was Keith Lee's win, but at the end of the day, we were entertained, and we were giving a compelling story, not only by Riddle and Morrison, but also by Lashley. And like you said, the fact that Riddle pinned Morrison to win the title means that Lashley still looks like somebody who's legit should be a champion.
So it's good.
I'll just say this: we don't really need to discuss it. The Nia Jax Shayna Baszler match was okay.
Subpar best as always.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I fucking hate Reggie.
Yeah, Reginald. Like, yeah, I'm over him.
Reggie. Like, I. It's not even like I hate the dude. I hate his material. I hate his lines. I hate where they have him butt in at. I hate all.
They should have just kept him with Carmella. They should have just kept him with Carmella.
I don't understand anything about his direction and why he's not still with Carmella.
Big time. So it was like you said, okay match, but that main event.
My God! Let's get into it.
Okay, so
I went first last time. Let's go. You let's do what we did. Let's do what we did last time. Actually, let's go physicality on both of our ends. The match in isolation. Then we'll talk about the ender.
All right. So on a level of physicality, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd have to give it a minimum of 9.5. That's at minimum. So the scale is just somewhere between 9.5 and 10. Because brutal from day one, from moment run. You open with Randy Orton and Kofi Kingston. Almost every pairing in this thing had some kind of long-term feud going on. Orton and Kingston have been feuding on and off since what, 2014?
Nah. It's 2021, bro. They've been feuding since like 2008. This is like 13 years in the making, if I'm being quite honest.
Yes. Okay. So you had Orton and Kingston going at it. You had Kingston and Sheamus. They've had their feuds over the years. They haven't necessarily had as intense as Orton and Kingston, but they've had it. But you had Sheamus and Drew McIntyre. You had Jeff Hardy and AJ Styles, who just recently had a huge feud. Everybody had history.
And then you have mixes of a Hardy and Orton and Sheamus and Orton. And oh my God, there was so many like I said earlier. Literally, look around in the room. I have beef with all these motherfuckers. Type of moment, and I really like that. Especially for someone like Randy Orton, who was literally going in circles saying "fuck you, fuck you, fuck you" to everyone in the chamber. It was so good.
Amen to that. Jeff Hardy lasted a good like 25 minutes. I thought for a second that it was going to come down to him and McIntyre, but of course it didn't. I didn't expect. I didn't expect Sheamus to go so quickly, and I definitely didn't expect Sheamus to go at the hands of AJ Styles. With all the build-up,
Go ahead, yeah. I think you have the same thought as me here.
With all that build-up between Sheamus and Drew McIntyre, I figured McIntyre would end up being the one to put him down. So it did kind of that was something that threw me for a thing that AJ Styles was the one to put Sheamus down. And then, of course, I expected McIntyre to retain. What happened next? Not even I expected. And
let me get my end first then.
Go ahead.
Let me get my end first. But yeah, the order of which everyone went out in to me felt a little bit almost like a spot fest. It almost felt rushed at times. But I did like the spots themselves. I did like the finisher followed up by one more and then steal the pin sort of thing. I was done like twice or three times in the match. And I didn't find it to be overindulgent. I actually thought it was really good because it was very well timed on everyone's part every single time.
And okay, but to kind of give the people an idea of what he's talking about it to an extent, it feeling rushed with the boom, 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 boom. Look at the elimination times. Randy Orton was eliminated 9 minutes into the match. Then between the 23rd minute of the match and the 31st and the finish, which was 31 minutes, in that 8 minutes, that's where everybody else got eliminated. Just boom, 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 boom. And you're right. It felt
and everybody
rushed.
else, he doesn't mean everyone else in the Vengence. Literally everyone else who was in the match were eliminated within a 8-minute span, which isn't an insult, but it did feel like it was a little bit rushed.
Like they could have spread it out a little bit more.
But it was timed very interestingly, especially at the final sequence that we saw at the end there. I really liked the final sequence of Brogue Kick. Then it was a phenomenal forearm.
Yeah, and that was after AJ hadn't been in the match for a couple minutes. Like he had disappeared for a couple minutes.
Actually, he had just came back then. I don't know if you caught it. Did you catch the botch by AJ though on McIntyre? I don't know if you saw, but they actually fucking replayed it. But
really,
you see Styles, who normally is very, very agile on the ropes. He goes for his patented springboard 450 on the top rope. You see him go for it, and he buckles and wobbles just a little bit where he meant to jump, and instead he tilts forward, doesn't get the full tilt, and pretty much lands like lower back ass first straight to Drew McIntyre's meat of the gut. Just cannonballed, and like you can see the air leave the motherfucker's body.
Damn.
But they did it again right after. You literally see AJ go for the springboard 450 and catch it on Drew right after. But there was a little bit of a botch there, but it didn't look horrible. Drew caught it. And he gave it as well as he took it. As per usual. But I did love the finishing sequence though, where Styles goes for that phenomenal forearm and gets fucking caught with a midair claymore. And my family is fucking with me because I called the order of the people who came out in this match. And then at the very end, the moment I saw AJ go flips, I was like, he's going to get caught. He's going to get caught with the claymore. On the way down, he's going to get caught with the claymore. On the way down, crack. The end.
Oh, man.
And it wasn't like predictable, though. I liked it. It looked good. As per always, it looked good, and it got a little bit spotty, but I didn't hate the match.
Yeah, 100%. Now, like I said, I'm gonna let you take it away because what happened after the match kind of pissed me off. I'm gonna sit here and look mad like that little girl in the
Miz girl.
Yeah, just look mad.
So they should have pulled the trigger on this a month ago when it was 10 years to the date, but we didn't get something as good as that. But we got something a little bit better, and the Miz has reached that unattainable goal of becoming one of that coveted group of men who has successfully cashed in the Money in the Bank twice.
Yeah.
And I say successfully there because the moment that Drew is done with the match, he's celebrating. And by the beginning, I was like, he's going to fucking cash in, isn't he?
Yeah.
And then Bobby comes out, and immediately it's like, oh, The Miz was talking to MVP before the match, and now Bobby Lashley is here, turning Drew's guts inside out. I know what's coming. And then
what's coming next?
He gets laid out, gets full Nelson slam. The Miz's
I came to play.
I came to play. You see him running down as he has before. I'm cashing in. It's a match. Miz gets in that one-legged DDT. Skull-crushing finale. 1, 2, 3. The Miz is a 2-time world champion. This is the best ending.
Now, they had me fooled for a second that Bobby Lashley was going to stop him from cashing in.
For a minute, I genuinely thought he was, though.
Yeah.
For a minute,
I thought Lashley was going to be like, no, I want to take it from him. And and Lashley was going to do it like that. But alas, no, Lashley just walked away and Miz cashed in. And hold on, it takes me a little bit. I got to exercise my mouth to
choke it out.
Yeah, to get it out. The Miz is our WWE champion. And
this is so good. This is the best ending.
I'm not happy. He's happy. I'm not happy. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad he cashed in because the Money in the Bank can become kind of stale if the champion doesn't cash it in. But I was kind of looking forward to Drew McIntyre versus somebody for the WWE Championship. But I'm going to say this as kind of a fourth wall break or kayfabe break. I think that happened with the Miz because because they had Edge choose Roman Reigns. I think because they decided to go with the Edge Roman Reigns finale. I think in that moment when that decision was made to go with Edge versus Reigns, that's the moment when they decided that they needed the WWE Championship to change hands, and it wasn't going to be McIntyre walking into WrestleMania with it. Because I think up until that point, the reason why he was booked to win the Chamber is because they were planning on going with him into WrestleMania as the champ. So
I think people are forgetting here that Edge versus Roman was seemingly not the plan. Yeah. Edge pitched this idea to Vince that we have now.
Yeah.
Edge pitched this to Vince.
Wow.
This isn't even Vince's framework idea. This is more or less Edge's idea in terms of going to NXT, going to SmackDown, going to Raw, then coming back after we didn't talk about it. Whoops, that slipped our mind here. After Daniel Bryan had lost to Roman Reigns earlier in the night, Roman Reigns was promptly attacked by Edge, who did ye old point at the sign and give me fireworks, which is figurative for I'm gonna beat that ass in April, son. And you know, it was real cool. But you know, the whole story of Edge taking Rumble and then doing what he's done with it so far is the alternate idea, and so I wouldn't be surprised if the original idea did have more to do with Drew. And this was the fuck it, let's do something for Mania, kick shit into hyperdrive and get Lashley to the main roster.
Well, here's the funny thing about it. I thought about this.
To the main event. Sorry.
Yeah, I was like, last year we were supposed to have Goldberg versus Roman Reigns, spear versus spear, and I don't know if you remember, but before last year's WrestleMania, I was like, I'd really rather see Edge versus Roman Reigns, spear versus spear.
Than a spear versus spear.
Well, evidently somebody heard me because that's what we get this year for WrestleMania.
We're like 3 for 3 here. If this happens one more time, I'm gonna be mad.
But I was definitely impressed with both endings to both chamber matches, include with the Edge reveal and the challenge of Roman Reigns, and then you followed that up with the Miz cashing in. And as much as I'm not happy that the Miz won the title, I'm not supposed to be happy that the Miz won the title. He's a heel, he's a bad guy, so I'm not supposed to be happy that he won the title, but I'm genuinely not happy that the Miz Mizanin, as much as he deserves it, is once again WWE champion. Because unfortunately, just like with John Cena later in his career, he's gotten to a point where I cannot take anything away from him, even if I still don't like him. Like, I can't speak badly of him, even if I don't like him, because the man is talented. Those who are comparing him to MJF are just crazy. MJF could never be at this level at the WWE or last as long as the Miz has lasted, considering where he came from. The Miz is truly that rags to riches, not rags to riches, because he was a rich kid. He grew up in
that bottom of the ladder, type of story,
But you're paying your dues. A lot of people had said that Miz never paid his dues, but I think he did. The Miz didn't start out as a wrestler. He didn't jump in and start challenging for championships. He was a like announcer dude for SmackDown.
No. He began as the Divas Search host.
Oh yeah,
06. With his little fucking faux hawk with the bleach tipped. He was the Divas Search host, and it was trash. But you're right. Yeah, I get your point, and you're right though. Yeah.
And I think he's the prime example of what we were talking about with Vince earlier, where if you just do whatever the hell Vince tells you to do, eventually Vince begins to trust you.
He'll pay you back for it. And that's actually the notion that I brought up last time we were talking about this. That one of the clips I had originally seen of that was when The Miz won the world title from Randy Orton in 2011. There's that clip where he goes backstage and he's clutching Vince and he's like, "Thank you so much for trusting me with this. I swear to God, you're not going to regret this, and I'm going to make sure that you don't regret this." And I'm sure that, like you can say what you want about the WWE championships, but it is never flip-flopped around. Yeah. And even with cases like Jinder Mahal, there was focused execution right there, and there was a reason behind that. And even if The Miz is a transitional champion to keep Drew looking good for Lashley coming into Mania season, that's fine, because in my opinion, Miz still does serve a good service to the industry in the way that he's still protecting someone. And if I'm being honest, The Miz, having been someone who has never been injured and never injured anyone, it's more or less what he's made for in terms of shit like this, right?
Pretty much.
And like what you said, you know, in terms of just being a good heel, I'm the biggest Miz mark in the world. I can tell you his whole career. Do not get me started on the talk of if he is a better heel than MJF, because MJF is the like nuanced equivalent to like covering your ears and saying like "Ninya, I don't hear you" and flipping someone off, and like
Pretty
just,
much,
just
yeah.
like whereas the Miz is like a whole new level of "fuck you, I'm better than you,"
Exactly.
sort of healery. There's a lot
100%.
more depth to it. Damn it.
And I'm juiced.
Yeah.
And I'm
Sorry, go
juiced to
ahead.
see where they go. I am seriously juiced to see where they go with Lashley in him, because I have this weird feeling that it's going to be Lashley versus McIntyre versus Miz at WrestleMania for the WWE title.
Like I said, Lashley's looking strong. It's believable right now. Now that he's out of the mid card scene, he could happily ascend to the main event scene here. But let's bridge this, shall we?
Okay. Well, are you talking about let's bridge on to the next subject?
Yeah, are you good?
Okay. Yeah, I'm good. Okay, so here we go. So here's this thing. I'm going to start this off with this little diatribe, and this is going to kind of take us into the subject. I'm sick and tired.
Well, wait, did we talk AEW first?
Yeah, we're gonna do AEW first, and then the wrestling.
Okay, cool. Good.
This is AEW related. Don't mind.
Okay, good. I was gonna say like, okay, we're good.
The most recent ratings, and when we've said ratings don't mean shit plenty of times on this show, and people need to stop obsessing over them. But I brought up a point to somebody where I go, look, we need to stop praising mediocrity. 800,000 viewers is not impressive. It's not. It's good. And the demo numbers are great for TNT, because I'll be honest with you, 800,000 viewers is probably way more viewers than they would get for the rerun of Bones or some other TNT show that they would normally have there. So for TNT, it's great. But in the grand scheme of things, it's not that impressive. It's not as impressive as a lot of AEW fans want to hype it up to be. And it kind of upsets me that level. But I think my point was proven in saying this. AEW isn't a bad company. They are the hottest company in wrestling right now. But I think as far as viewers go, they've plateaued. I don't think we'll really see too much of a maybe more than plus minus 150,000 fans fluctuation between them on a weekly basis. But I don't think we're going to see them spike and climb anymore. No matter who they sign, no matter who they bring in, I think AEW, as far as viewers and ratings, has reached its peak. And so with that being said, I think my point is proven with the fact that we have one of the greatest crossovers that we've seen in a while since we saw the WCW, ECW, WWE crossover. Even though that was all controlled by WWE, it was still
a controlled crossover.
Right. And so it's one of the biggest crossovers we've seen, but since that, with the crossover, with this crossover of Impact, New Japan, and AEW. I like it for wrestling fans. I don't think it's really puts a dent in anything WWE as far as market share goes and all that. I don't really think it does anything for anybody, but I think the one winner in all of this is New Japan.
Yeah.
Because I think that New Japan gets the American exposure that they deserve for their people through AEW. But I don't think that AEW is going to benefit as much as they think, other than having one other place in Japan where you're going to have some people who really start to know AEW. But I think New Japan wins the most. Impact, people just don't watch Impact. I'm sorry to say it. It's not because of the people. It's not because the people aren't talented. It's not because they're not good wrestlers. It's not because they don't tell good stories. People just are done with Impact. It's kind of run its course. So I don't think Impact really benefits from this, but I think like I said, New Japan first, AEW second, Impact third, as far as which person benefits the most from this partnership. But I think the person that benefits the most, number one, that's number 2, 3, and 4. Person that benefits is us. us as fans,
Yeah,
we get to see some dream matchups.
That's true.
We
That's true, yeah.
you know what I'm saying? If Brock Lesnar manages to pop up back in New Japan, maybe we get
Holy
Kenny
shit.
Omega versus Brock Lesnar. You know, you got
fully grown
Tama Tonga.
Okada versus him. Tama Tonga,
You know?
exactly.
You got Tama Tonga talking shit about the new Bullet Club in AEW. Like
I'm hearing that's real, actually.
Yeah,
I'm hearing that's all true.
but we're the ones who win the most as the fans. But as far as this combination taking down the giant that is WWE, let it go, folks. Let it go and enjoy wrestling.
Yeah, they're piggybacking each off of each other a lot, and I really like to see it because, you know, I'm not sitting here like, oh, I hate this idea. We need to form a union against WWE. How about a union for all wrestlers? Period. No.
How about adding WWE into this crossover?
No, umbrella label fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
You know, rights for all wrestlers, period. All that in mind, though, I do love to see talent trades, and all the ones that I have seen, I'm actually really okay with. You know, it didn't really produce anything fucking awesome, but I loved seeing Kenta on AEW TV. I'm not the dude's biggest fan. I think he's kind of a whiny fucking brat, if I'm being honest. But I'm a little bit inclined here, you know. But no, I think he's a really good worker. I think he's a really physically imposing worker, and I think his match with Moxley is going to be amazing. And I think the best way to hype it up is to come to Moxley's house and say "fuck you."
Yeah,
and that's exactly what he did. And you know, like I said, we have Finn Juice, which is David Finlay Jr. and Juice Robinson going to Impact. Yeah. Which is probably the first time I've ever been interested in Impact in a minute. which, like you said, is a lot of profit. But I do think now that we are seeing the previous owner of New Japan, Harold Mage, I believe, step out, we're seeing some very organic, very, very nice westward expansion. I really like it.
They need to open up a dojo out here. We do have the
LA dojo, actually. We do have the LA dojo. Oh, yeah, okay. We have the LA dojo, which is ran by Katsuyori Shibata, if I'm not mistaken.
All right,
but that is the only dojo that we do have here in America, I do believe. And I do believe that it comes down to that, and it does come down to access. But I'm hoping, you know, that this will all fix that. And I do like their partnership with AEW only because out of all of them, AEW is probably going to give them the biggest platform to really showcase anything.
With the national show and multiple shows and everything. Right. Now let's dive right into it when it comes to AEW. And let's talk about the true impact of them signing Paul White.
Yeah.
Formerly known as the Big Show from WWE.
So I'm gonna word this a little bit funny. Where were you when you found out the Big Show was AEW confirmed?
I was. Where were you at? Go for it. No,
I want to hear you. I want to hear you first, but I want to say mine is a little bit interesting.
All right. I was on Facebook. Sorry, I'm an old man. I was born.
Okay, no, that's fine.
I was on Facebook and just happened to scroll through my AEW fan page, and it was like Paul White is all elite. I was like, why are they using his real name? I was like, well, he can't be known as Big Show. And then I looked at the article, and it said he had signed a multi-year deal with them. But go ahead and tell your story, and then I'll kind of give some thoughts on what I think of the signing in general.
I went into work the other day, and it was a completely normal day. You know, nothing different. My mom texts me, and she's like, you know, hey, check this out. And it's like, Big Show AEW confirmed. I'm like, you're funny.
Yeah.
And I get off work, and she's like, did you hear? Big Show is bound for AEW. And I'm like, you're fucking funny. Like, genuinely thought she was fucking with me. Genuinely dead ass thought that she was joking with me, and she was just fucking with me here. And then she says it one more time while we get home, and I'm like, dude. And she's like, it's real. And I'm like, you're joking. You're not fucking. You're fucking with me, dude. That's not real. And so I go back and I sit down and I look it up. I'm like, fuck, it's real. It's actually there. And not only that, but it's really fucking interesting.
Yeah.
And not only is he a competitor, he's an announcer.
He's going to be a commentator for the new show.
He's going to be a commentator. And so, you know, honestly, I'm so fucking excited for this.
I am as well. I hate to be the one to rain on the parade. As far as Impact signings, Big Show really doesn't move the needle for me.
That's fair. It's not like game changing,
Right.
It's not like it's not man. It's like I'm gonna watch AEW every fucking week now.
I expressed this to somebody.
The splash.
My last few experiences of seeing him in the ring, yeah, he looks great as far as physically, but yeah, I'm not very big on watching him go in the ring. Maybe if they pick specific spots for him. But the argument that I was having is that everybody was like, oh, look, he left a WWE for AEW. Not really. Let's clear that up right now. Big Show is Paul White is in AEW because WWE did not value him as much as he valued himself. And I say that not as an insult. We all feel that we have a specific value. And some of us don't want to, and a lot of us will not settle for less than that value. And that's basically what the situation was. His number was here, WWE's was here, and WWE wasn't budging, and neither wanted to compromise. He knew he could go to AEW and get that money and be in a positive environment and have a little creative control. But to say like WWE somehow screwed him, the man's a multi-time champion. He's a Grand Slam fucking champion. He's had multiple title runs. Yeah, he's had some jacked up gimmicks throughout his time, but who hasn't when you've been in the business for 20-something years, 30-something years? Who hasn't had some shitty gimmicks from time to time? You know, but overall, his time is come and gone. And really right now, he has more to offer backstage than he really does on screen. And that's just me being realistic. I'm not trying to knock him at all. All the best to him. I hope that this AEW run is something that he can feel comfortable going out on his career with, because I'll admit, I would have hated to see him retire after the way he went out, you know, his last showing in WWE. So this gives him a chance to retire on his own terms, you know, in a few years and have a nice little run with AEW. But as far as like Impact, like to be honest with you, there's only really been maybe 2 signings that AEW has had from WWE that moved the needle for me, and that was Jericho and then Moxley. Other than that, FTR didn't really move the needle for me. Sean Spears definitely didn't move the needle for me. You know, really, here's my only criticism of AEW at this point, because they're doing a lot of things really well. It's not that they should stay away from WWE, guys. I understand why they're bringing them in. You want people who's going to put butts in the seats and eyes on the screen.
Getting a WWE lifer, right? Yeah.
But I think that they should steer more towards their major shining should be guys from the independents. The whole purpose of AEW is supposed to be showing us the side of wrestling that WWE is not. Give us those. Go down to Florida, go down to the independent, go down to California, go down to New York, go down to Texas, go to Booker T's wrestling school, find the best and top guys, the current champions there, and bring them into AEW. You know, bring these guys up, give these guys TV time, not just on Dark on YouTube, but give them time on Dynamite. You know, these are the guys that should be coming in. Because to me, I think then that gives AEW an edge, because then at that point, AEW is literally competing for the same talent pool that WWE is. They're not taking the people that WWE is just slowly like, okay, we ain't got nothing for you, so, and we're tired of paying you to sit at home. You can go do something else, you know? And so it's just one of those type of things where I understand why they sign these people. And people like Zelina Vega, I'm happy for them. People like Jon Moxley, I'm happy for them. But at a certain point, AEW has to establish its own identity as AEW. And I think right now they're really struggling with that. And it's because of the people that they're signing. But is the product strong? It's there.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting perspective on it, because most people I know will literally look at it and just take one side or the other. And I really like the idea that by signing people like the Big Show, they are limiting themselves a bit. And you know what? If I'm being honest, to piggyback off that, I'm a huge believer in homegrown wrestling talent. You know, I try not to be biased, but before doing everything he did, I really supported people like Lars Sullivan. I'm always going to support people like the Velveteen Dream, people like Rhea Ripley, people like Eric Bugenhagen. You know why? Because they're all people that really didn't have a lot of indie experience, but have made a very, for some of them, shitty and others very good amount of success using WWE's system to really form themselves and mold themselves to that style to be perfect for it.
Yep.
And through being homegrown like that and raised up through that, it provides a really organic system of making new stars and making new personalities. And AEW would benefit very well from instead making their own set of homegrown talents. And don't get me wrong, their scouts are really good and they pick up really good people, but they are picking a little bit too high. They need to aim lower, not because they're lower than that, but because they do need to pick up talent that they can make a name for in their company. You know, it would be different if AEW could create their own stars as well as piggyback off of other people's stars. And they are going a bit back on their statement of, we're going to provide an alternative to WWE, and be like, okay, who are your top guys right now? Sting, Moxley, Jericho, Hager, FTR.
No, real talk. Like and here's the thing. I don't mind them bringing these guys in.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
here's the thing about it. If you're going to really take a chunk out of WWE's market share, if you're really going to establish yourself as a true threat, you have to develop that next transcendent star.
Don't take a big show. Take a Chad Gable.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? You have to create that next transcendent star and lift him up to that level that where everybody's eyes are on your product simply because he is in the ring. Vince helped create multiple of them during the Attitude Era. You had Triple H, you had Rock, you had Shawn Michaels, you had Undertaker. He created multiple transcendent, which is why we will never see that peak of wrestling fandom ever again, because we will never see that many transcendent superstars in one company on one show or two shows at one given time.
You'll never have a roster that is so apt for everyone being in the main event scene like that era. And I get what you mean though. Yeah.
And so I think what AEW would be better served to do is take a bunch of people that nobody knows and make them into stars. But see, I also understand the opposite side of it is they're running a business. So they're trying to turn a profit. So they want to bring in people. But I think that they should be showcasing the guys in the main events, in the title pictures, so on and so forth. They should be showcasing these guys that are not former WWE champions, came over to the. If you really want to be what you claimed you wanted to be from the get-go, at a certain point you got to start. Talent. Exactly. And I'm not saying they don't have, because they got MJF,
yeah, they have
Kenny Omega, but here's the thing about
Jungle Boy, people like them,
Jungle Boy, yeah. Here's the thing about with the Elite. People can't claim because most of the Elite never wrestled full-time, long-term for WWE that these are not WWE guys. Yeah, you're right. They're not WWE guys in the truest sense. But here's the deal. They are uber veterans in the world of wrestling. Like each one of those guys has 10, 15, 20 years of experience. And this AEW thing is really the peak of their popularity to an extent, with an exception for over in Japan. I will say this. They became huge over there. You know what I'm saying? But as far as American popularity, AEW is the peak of where any of these guys, Young Bucks, Omega, any of these guys in the Elite have been, including Cody. And I think that focusing a lot of your stuff on them kind of, to an extent, holds AEW back, because these are known quantities. AEW is supposed to be an unknown quantity given the stuff that we can't see with the other company. We can see the top guys win every championship at WWE, just like the Click did in WWE for a long time and held down a lot of the top spots, just like Triple H did when he first got with Stephanie McMahon and just basically ran shop. You know what I'm saying? We can see the top guys do that. What we can't see is a Jungle Boy come out of nowhere and win the AEW championship or win the TNT championship.
Exactly.
I loved it when they had Darby Allin, because he was somebody that you wouldn't really suspect as that type of a personality. And I think they did great with putting the TNT strap around him. But let's go over the list of AEW champions. You've had Chris Jericho, and you've had Jon Moxley.
Yeah.
Now you have Kenny Omega. All three are known quantities. If you give me Chris Jericho, then you give me Moxley, and then you give me a nobody, Then you give me Omega.
Then you give me a mix-up. Then suddenly it creates this air of who could be champion, right?
Exactly.
Who could be champion. And before we bridge into the PWI, I do want to say I get that. I see what you mean. They would benefit more from making new talent and making money off of and banking on people who could create something new and present something new like they promised. And I respect the knowledge and the wisdom and the experience and what people like Big Show bring to the table.
Yeah.
And I very much appreciate that. But at the end of the day, they now have Big Show, they have Sting, they have Billy Gunn, they have Lance Storm, they have this wealth of knowledge and wisdom. How much more money are you going to be spending on that before you're putting money into new talent like WWE is? And I understand they don't have that money, but WWE right now is banking on new talent every 6 fucking months from raiding PWG and Ring of Honor and the entire West Coast wrestling scene. We just watched them pick up and give characters to 3 people who have never had characters before, and all 3 of them are in different directions right now. Damian Priest was Punishment Martinez, Cameron Grimes was Trevor Lee, and Isaiah Swerve Scott was Shane Strickland. All 3 of them weren't faceless, but they did not have solid gimmicks. They walk into WWE, all 3 of them get gimmicks, and one of them is now on the main roster going into a match at Mania. One of them is one of the pillars of NXT, and the other is a pillar of the Cruiserweight division.
Yeah.
You have to give a minute and attest to the ability to nab new talent, and that is where AEW is falling a little bit flat in terms of picking up young new talent.
Well, and this will be my last statement before we move on. I compare it like this. When people complain about WWE creative, I say, okay, working for AEW and then working for WWE, it's like this. Working for AEW is going into that job where your boss says, you know what? I don't give a really, this is the end result that I want. I don't really give a shit how you get from A to B, but this is the end result that I want. So do it how you need to do it, but just get it done. You got 8 hours today and we got this week, or whatever the time frame is. Do what you got to do. And then there's the walking into a corporate restaurant or walking into a corporate business and them saying, here's a book this thick that tells you everything that you're supposed to know, everything that you should know, and everything that you should be doing at any given time based off of our corporate standards. And we expect you to do it. And we expect you to do it our way. And that's WWE. You're walking into a corporation. You're not walking into your Sacramento Pro Wrestling. No offense to SPW, great promotion, but you're not walking into your Sacramento Pro Wrestling boot camp wrestling school where they're going to give you all this creative leeway. You're walking into a corporation with a CEO that's looking to make money. So of course he's going to want as much control over the product as he can possibly exert. So therefore, when you walk into WWE, you don't get to come in unless you've already got a gimmick that's way over, like an AJ Styles or Samoa Joe anyway. You don't get to come in and say, I'm going to be this gimmick.
I'm going to do this.
Yeah, you get to come in and get told this is what you're going to do. And either you do the job or you don't. And either you can work the gimmick and get over, or you do like the Miz. You take whatever bullshit they throw at you and you eat it up and you fucking run it all the way until you reach a point in which Vince trusts you and you can start making pitches about what you want.
You're at the point where you can break IC title records and you can be a 2-time world champion.
Exactly. You know, but until then, don't expect to come in the door and be treated like Roman Reigns. Don't expect to come in the door and be treated like John Cena. You know, you're not AJ Styles. You're not Samoa Joe. You haven't built a name up enough to come in and get over like that. So at the end of the day, come in and do what you got to do, or don't work for the corporation, or stay your ass on the indies, go work for AEW, you know, and stay away from the global corporation, because that's what WWE is. Now, I do agree with people when they say WWE needs to start considering wrestlers employees and stop considering them independent contractors and offer them health benefits and insurance and so on and so forth and get them taken care of. I agree with that 1000%. The WWE needs to it's modern day times. It's time to get on board with this bullshit. Just stop. You know, stop with the old school independent contractor bullshit. Back in the territory days, that made sense. Now it doesn't.
Now it's like, you know, things have changed.
But speaking kind of on a little bit what I was speaking on there, and the AEW bias that's going on in the world today. let's go ahead and screen share here and take a look at the
Let's get through
PWI.
this interesting list.
Yeah, the Wrestling Observer Awards. AEW dominates the 2020 Wrestling Observer Awards. All right,
let's take a little read here. Let's take a little look over. Okay.
The Luthez Ric Flair Award for Wrestler of the Year, of course, went to Jon Moxley. I could go with Jon Moxley. I could go with Drew McIntyre. Either one really would work for me. But this was a fan vote, and
let's take a big look over, and then we'll do opinions after.
Okay. Jon Moxley, most outstanding wrestler. Kenny Omega, Tag Team of the Year, the Young Bucks. Yeah, you can tell by my response what my thoughts will be on that one. Best on interviews.
Trust me, Sam.
Huh? I'll say, yeah. Eddie Kingston, Promotion of the Year, AEW, Best Weekly TV Show, AEW Dynamite, Pro Wrestling Match of the Year, Young Bucks versus Adam Page and Kenny Omega, United States, Canada MVP, Jon Moxley. I don't even know what the hell that is. Japanese MVP, Tetsuya Naito, Mexico MVP, Ray Phoenix. Yeah. Europe MVP, Walter. Hodge Award non-heavyweight MVP, Hiromi Takahashi. Women's Wrestling MVP, Bailey, which is opposite of the Sports Illustrated Wrestler of the Year, Sasha Banks. Best box office draw was Conor McGregor. Okay, I don't know what that has to do with wrestling, but all right. Feud of the Year, Jon Moxley versus Eddie Kingston. Most Improved, Britt Baker. Most Charismatic. Sorry, I can't even say this without laughing. MJF. The Bryan Danielson Award. Nice. The Best Technical Wrestler, Zack Sabre Jr. Bruiser Brody Memorial Award for the Best Baller, Jon Moxley. Best Flying Wrestler, Ray Phoenix. Most Overrated, shockingly, went to Bray Wyatt. Most Underrated went to Ricochet. Rookie of the Year went to Pat McAfee. That one I'll actually agree with wholeheartedly. Best non-wrestler, Taz. Best TV announcer, Excalibur. That's got to be a joke. Worst TV announcer, Michael Cole. Best major wrestling show, AEW Revolution. Yeah. Worst WWE Super Showdown from Saudi Arabia. Best wrestling maneuver, Kenny Omega's One Ring Angel. Most disgusting promotional tactic, WWE firing people during a pandemic during a year where they were setting profit records. Worst TV show, WWE Raw. Worst match of the year, Braun Strowman versus The Fiend, the Swamp Fight from Horror Show at Extreme Rules. Oh, worst feud of the year, Bray Wyatt versus Braun Strowman. I didn't notice this one on this long. Worst promotion of the year, WWE. Best Booker, Tony Khan. Notice how I rolled my eyes at that one. Promoter of the year, Tony Khan. Best gimmick, Orange Cassidy. Worst gimmick, The Fiend, Bray Wyatt. Best pro wrestling book, Young Bucks Killing the Business from the backyards to the big leagues. Oh, no, it's like Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy 2.0. I don't know. Anyway, best
what a surprise.
pro wrestling documentary, Dark Side of the Ring with Owen Hart, which that one I will 100% agree with. Dark Side of the Ring is an excellent wrestling documentary. And that one about Owen Hart, even though I think the one about Chris Benoit was a lot better, that one about Owen Hart was pretty good.
Okay.
So where do you want to start?
I'm going to go first this time. Only because we got to scrunch a tiny bit for time.
Yeah.
I won't fucking go full ballistic here. But I'm not the dude to even say some shit like this. And I'm going to preface everything I'm about to say with a few things. I love the Bullet Club. You know?
Yeah.
You might think, right?
Just a little bit.
I love the Bullet Club, and I love everybody associated with that, and I support them. And I'm not blinded, and I'm not biased by my love for them and those who come from it. And as such, I love indie wrestling and the indie style. I love PWG, and you know what? I love AEW. I love the way AEW does a lot of things. And I'm a huge, huge, huge flag flyer of Japanese wrestling.
Yeah.
So I say this with all those things in mind. that this is the smarkiest keyboard warrior 6-star match giving Meltzer sucking fucking dream card I've ever seen in my life. I cannot put into words what kind of image this draws in my head of who wrote this. This feels like the guy that sit here and fantasy books the death of Vince for wrestling fun. This is this so was diluted.
This was voted on. This was supposedly a fan vote.
Yeah, supposedly
on the Wrestling Observer website. But I don't know. Only way I could see it like this is like this. WWE fans just don't really pay attention to Wrestling Observer in the first place, so they wouldn't know that it was taking place. Whereas AEW has more hardcore fans. We're probably on the Wrestling Observer case, hence why you have the lean towards AEW over everything WWE. But just feud of the year, Jon Moxley versus Eddie Kingston, really? Like,
it was a good feud, but
it was. But I don't think feud of the year.
Like, I don't hate everything a part of this list. Obviously there's a lot of these I really much agree with. Hiromu Takahashi getting junior heavyweight of the year, fucking awesome. The Bruiser Brody Memorial and the Wrestler of the Year going to my father, absolutely wonderful. Ray Phoenix getting an award, awesome. Tetsuya Naito getting an award, I love it. Zack Sabre Jr. walking out with an award, good shit. But I'm sorry, if you want to look me in the eyes right now and tell me that Britt Baker is the most improved wrestler of the last 365 days, you are slapping the face of people like Orange Cassidy. You are slapping the face of people like Bianca Belair, of Bianca Belair, of Chad Gable, of many people, even in the indie scene. If you want to talk AEW, I'm sorry, I feel like Eddie Kingston has shown more progress in his in-ring work than Britt fucking Breaker. Like, I'm sorry.
And I would have to say the same thing about most charismatic with MJF. He falls very flat for me. MJF falls very flat, very predictable. So most charismatic is like, what?
Are you sure about that?
Are you sure about that?
I thought the whole joke here is he's not supposed to be charismatic. I thought the joke was he's a shithead.
Like, I would consider the Miz to be a more charismatic heel than MJF. Like some of these just seem like it was just more so the type of people that were answering the questions.
Okay, stop right there. Stop right there. Perfect. Now I have more to say. Go up a little bit. How in the fuck is Bray Wyatt the most overrated wrestler of the year when literally Kenny Omega could walk into a ring and do fucking nothing and you would stamp 5 stars on it? The Bray Wyatt and The Fiend being so looked at poorly for this pisses me off as much as it does, because The Fiend character has shown one thing that so many fucking dorks in AEW don't really know how to implant, and that's continuity. And that's a long-term, years worth of continuity in mind with the Fiend character. The entire the whole look of the Fiend character has actually been implanted for about 5 fucking years now. And he's building up to this for about 6 now. This whole character is nigh 10 years in the making when you include its many references to Husky Harris even. You cannot, and I will admit, his match with Braun was shit. But you cannot tell me that within the last 365 days that he's the worst when something like the Firefly Funhouse match came through and was as fucking insanely good as it was. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'll say it like this, like my issue with feud of the year. You pick a feud that was a good feud, but lasted what? All of maybe like a month and a half?
Literally 6 weeks, 2.5 fucking months, dude.
Yeah. Versus like a feud like Orton versus Drew McIntyre, which technically, if you look at it, technically started like back after WrestleMania when Drew first won the WWE title, and then progressed to their WWE championship matches at Hell in a Cell and SummerSlam.
You're right, yeah.
You know, like you take a feud that took 6 weeks to build and 2 weeks to really flame, and you say that it's less of a feud than a feud that literally took 9 months to build down there, or six to 8 months to build to. Like,
no fucking shit, that one's gonna have more depth, dude.
Now, I do agree with like Ricochet is the most underrated wrestler. Like I
Very
definitely
true.
think
I'll take that.
I don't necessarily think he gets misused. I just think unfortunately his size stunts his growth in WWE, because Vince always has a very big issue with pushing smaller guys. And so unfortunately Ricochet got caught in that, but I can understand where Vince is coming from. You want your title on a, you know, but I do believe Ricochet should have a title because he deserves one. Pat McAfee, I'm sorry, for me, he was the most impressive new wrestling thing that I saw this year.
Pat McAfee is probably, if I'm not even fucking with you, in my top 10 wrestlers of the year.
Yeah.
I'm not even fucking with you, not even like in a broad sense. Pat McAfee has proven to have a great understanding of what the fuck wrestling is about in a very, very short period of time. And none of that is hype. His very first match was a lot more solid than many people's matches after full years of training that I've seen.
And full cap, they lost me with Excalibur as the best TV announcer.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure about that one. Excalibur is good, and he's really cool. Don't get me wrong.
But best out of all of wrestling, I don't know. I don't know.
JR is still alive, my dude.
This one is the one that gets me the most. WWE. Okay, so let me understand this straight. A corporate business cutting employees because they're preparing for a lower revenue stream to come in this year is somehow a disgusting promotional tactic. I think people forget that WWE is a corporation. It's a big box business. Think Best Buy versus your local electronic shop where Joe sells you keyboards and mouses and shit like that versus Best Buy. Like, WWE is a multi-billion-dollar corporation. Yes, does it suck that they had to cut people? Yeah, a lot of people lost their jobs during the pandemic. It wasn't just wrestlers. It wasn't like WWE was the only one, and WWE wasn't the only promotion that cut people during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. And third of all, we have no idea what severance or anything like that the WWE gave to these people upon cutting them.
You're right.
We have no clue. It was never spoke on. And most of them went on almost immediately as soon as they were able to again to go on to work for other companies like AEW.
You're right. Yeah.
So really, is WWE that horrible for letting them go? I don't think so. Not in my mind. It doesn't make them the worst promotional. It doesn't make it the worst disgusting promotional tactic. Like, sorry. You can miss me with that one too.
I do believe that WWE should have that position of worst promotional tactic for forcing all of their workers to be denounced off of all platforms, not that they can control.
I can work with that.
And for not giving their people proper care, and for standing so firmly and almost damn near deplatforming people like Andrew Yang. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But for something like that, I agree. That is fucking bullshit, because I was a budget cut during the pandemic, and that would be like me taking that shit personally, knowing that our numbers are going down and different people aren't going to be working as much. Not because money can't go around, but because you can't have that high of a workforce. At that point, you're approaching a pandemic where you can't have live shows. That's 45% of your workforce that you're going to be paying to do fucking nothing for the next year and a half. So you have two options: pay people to do fucking nothing, or keep that money and keep growing your business in the state of a pandemic. What is the better option as a businessman?
It's always going to be to cut employees. I've never been mad at a business unless they unnecessarily cut employees, and WWE didn't unnecessarily cut employees, because at the time in which they cut them, they didn't know that they were going to be doing record profits for this year. And if you know anything about business, you would know that the reason why they probably did record profits this year is because they cut all that dead weight money early in the year.
You're right.
Like people got to remember that the reason why WWE set profit records is because they cut all that excess baggage of people that they were paying to basically sit at home.
All of that money would have gone to people who were doing nothing, and I understand that that's not their fault. That's not what I'm saying. But as a business, you do have to look at it objectively like that.
You can't just give away money. Now,
Right.
I'm a little shaky on the best booker being Tony Khan.
Because he's not a fucking booker.
Even though he books, he helps book AEW. If you're going to give the best booker, you got to give it to like the other people around him. Yeah, Cody, Arn Anderson, who I'm pretty sure all these people have input on
if I'm not
seeing.
mistaken, Dean Malenko has a higher writing position than Tony Khan when it comes to the formation of AEW.
Now, once again, promoter of the year. The dude just gave some money to Cody Rhodes and said, go do what you want to do. Like really, like, let's not act like this dude opened up a wrestling school and started it from scratch and then developed this promotion from the ground up. Nah, he just threw some money at Cody Rhodes and said, hey, make a wrestling promotion and make me a part of it.
He was an investor.
Pretty much.
He's not a fucking writer.
I don't know. But, and then go ahead.
Sorry, good. I was actually pretty happy with Orange Cassidy getting best gimmick. I'm okay with that.
I'm on the opposite end. I'm okay with it, but his gimmick isn't that over with me. Like
I feel it's a very niche gimmick.
Yeah, it very much so. And so, as much as I love the Fiend, as much as I love Orange Cassidy, I don't think he was the best gimmick this year. I actually think that who was it? I actually think Keith Lee in himself was the best gimmick. Like,
honestly, yeah,
bask in his glory, baby. Bask in his glory.
If I'm being honest, the Fiend for me is gimmick of the year. I'm sorry, the presentation of the Fiend and the metamorphosis and everything about it is best of the year. And I'm sorry, the consensus online is that people don't like him because he's Vince's golden boy. Vince supports the gimmick. And because he cheated on his wife to pursue a relationship with JoJo, the ring announcer, is what I've put together why people don't exactly dig the Fiend gimmick.
So basically, for no reason that has anything to do with his talent or what he's actually saying or doing.
And that's what I'm saying. And I'm like, oh, so you hate him for every reason other than his work rate, what he does in the ring, and his character work, which is the only thing that should fucking matter.
So, but at the end of the day, man, let me just say this as we close this out, that everybody has their own opinion and everybody's entitled to that opinion, but not all opinions are right. I'll just leave it at that. Not all opinions are right.
Exactly. I'm not going to sit here and act like taking a stance on something isn't what doing this is all about. Right. And so all this is about is discussion. And I'm not going to say that you shouldn't deserve to have your opinion and voice to me that you believe that MJF is the most charismatic man in the world. But in that same idea, you cannot shut me up when I tell you that is fucking wrong and you're an idiot.
Exactly. All right. So one last thing I want to talk about before we call this an episode, do a quick bit. Have you had a chance to watch Young Rock?
Yeah, no. I have not, but I've seen bits and pieces of it. Tell me if it's worth it.
Okay. I'm going to tell you 100% A1, double approved by Double K. The Rock is worth it. The Young Rock is worth it. I'm going to rattle off a couple of quick scenes here from the pilot that really caught my eye and I loved. But first and foremost, just to give you guys a quick premise of it, it's supposed to be 2032 and The Rock is running for president. And so basically it's him being interviewed by Jimmy Woo, from not the actual character, but the guy Randall Park, the guy that plays Jimmy Woo on Marvel's WandaVision. He's being interviewed by him to try to convince people to vote for him in the next presidential race, and he's telling stories from his childhood. But you can tell this
fucking cool.
This show is an homage to Rocky Johnson because he really puts his father over. In this, his father and mother, but his father as well over in the show. But in the first episode, it jumps between 3 different stages of Rock's life. The first stage is when he was a child, like 9, 10, 11 years old. The second stage is when he's a teenager in high school. And then the third stage is when he's at University of Miami. And he's just telling various stories. But in the first episode,
fucking dope, man.
He's talking about his dad, and he tells a story about how they go over to his grandma's house, great Chief Peter Maiavia's wife. He goes over to grandma's house after one of Dad's matches, and they run into Junkyard Dog. They run into the Wild Samoans. They run into who else was it? The Iron Sheik. And then they're all joined by Andre the Giant.
That's so fucking cool, man.
So Pops is sitting at the table playing cards with Grandma and the boys, right? And they're all talking, and Rock's chiming in, little 11-year-old Rock's chiming in. And at one point he goes, I don't understand why you guys are tripping over it so hardcore. Wrestling's fake anyway. And everybody in the house stops and looks at him. His mother starts shaking her head like,
you done fucked up.
Yeah, and Junkyard Dog looks at Rocky Johnson. He's like, that's your boy. That's your boy. He's like, I ain't never taught him that. And Andre the Giant gets up, walks over to Little Rock, picks him up and brings him up eye to eye, right? And looks at him and is like, got his mean face on, shakes him and goes, does this feel fake? And Little Rock's like, no. He's like, we don't ever use the F word around here. He's like, okay. And he's like, and Little Rock's like, yeah. He's like, and he starts laughing. He goes, now time for hug. And he like hugs Rock and then puts him back down. But it's just telling different stories. There's a story where he's talking about when he got his first car. And he got his first car, bought it for $103 off this homeless dude who didn't tell him that 2 other homeless dudes were sleeping in the back seat in the trunk. Right? So he finds this out. He starts talking to the homeless dude that's standing in the back, and the dude dies while he's giving him some advice. This was the funniest scene in the pilot episode.
The fuck?
The dude dies in the back seat. The very next scene is The Rock on a payphone. He's like, yeah. His name's Waffle, and he's dead in the back of a Thunderbird behind this restaurant. In a car, he said, in a car that belongs to I don't know who. And, oh, who am I? Oh, yeah, this is Mayor McCheese. Click. And he just walks home. Like, dude died in his truck in the back seat, and he didn't, it wasn't like, get rid of the body, clean it out. It was like, nah, fuck this car. They can burn it. They can have it. But overall, it was good. It's a great show. I just got done watching episode 2 today. I would definitely give it my recommendation to anybody. It's a great watch, and it's also just great watching like you see the actors that they got to play Andre the Giant. The guy that they got to play Rocky Johnson looks dead on him. And the same thing with the guy that they got to play Andre the Giant. Junkyard Dog looks almost dead like him, and the same thing with the Wild Samoans.
Yeah, the only one I've seen for sure is the actor who plays Rocky Johnson, and it's fucking spot on.
Yeah, so definitely we'll talk more about it next week when we're talking TV and WandaVision and all the rest of that. I just wanted to throw that out there since we were talking.
Hell yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, man, we'll break into that.
Definitely approve. But all right, man. So any last words for these lovely people before we wrap it up and move on to the next episode next week?
Whew. Pulling in with a new technique as always. Every episode at this point, we got a new angle and a new piece of tech running this shit off of at this point. But that's okay because we're going to come to you any damn way we can. Oh, my people. Please be safe. Don't go anywhere. Stick around for next time, huh?
All right. Peace.